Ordinary foot down on the concrete. Everyday grind, but my mind don't sleep. Gifted with a vision and a fire to keep. Holistic man, rising from the deep. Feet on the ground, hands to the sky. Connecting the dots between earth and sky. Seeing the world through a different eye. Holistic man, ain't afraid to try. God make me a holistic man. Lift me high when I don't understand. Guide my steps with a gentle hand. God make me a holistic man.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Holistic Man, Ordinary Men, Extraordinary Gifts. Today's guest is a husband, he's a father, he's a speaker, he's an author and a leader, and he is passionate about equipping others to step boldly into the life they are called to live. With a wealth of experience in business, ministry, and leadership, he has made it his mission to empower individuals to rise above fear, embrace their calling, and build purpose-driven lives. His voice carries both wisdom and challenge for anyone ready to grow into the fullness of who God created them to be. Listen, y'all, I'm excited for this man that is here today. I knew him when he was in undergrad at the University of Virginia. Now he's out here in the world taking over. So it's my honor and my privilege to welcome to the podcast, Pastor Trevón Gross Jr. What's up, Pastor?
Hey, man, thank you. What's going on, doctor? Since we throwing around titles, I gotta say, Lord. Dr. Jeffrey, how you doing, sir?
Here we go, man. I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, man. Thank you so much for having me on your platform. This is amazing. This is needed, and I'm excited.
Listen, man, I appreciate it. I'm blessed, that you accepted the offer and here just to share a little bit of who you are and what God has done in your life. And I know that many men will be blessed, by what you have shared here today. So thank you for taking the time. Listen, I know you're busy, man. You building businesses, you building leaders, you building dreamers. You got a family, you got a baby. I heard the baby cry earlier, So,
Oh yeah. You probably won't be the last time you hear of her either.
That's all right. I am all for it, because I know that is what God has ordained and what God has allowed. And like I said, I'm proud of this man. Listen, y'all, I knew this man on the grounds of the University of Virginia at the Office of African American Affairs, OAAA. And I had the opportunity just to touch and connect for a little while, as he was ending his career there. I was always impressed by how he carried himself and how he handled his business and just how he moved even then. You could see, the call and the posture and the position that God was positioning him to be even then. And so to see him flourish and thrive now, it's a blessing, it's an honor to see that. I told him, I said, I feel like a big brother, big unk, to see you out here just killing it for the things of God. So yeah, man. So we're going to just, dive into this conversation, about holistic man, but ultimately about your life, your calling, your testimony. So I just want to start off really kind of at the beginning and just see, what or who was an example of biblical manhood for you early on.
Oh man, it's a great question. So really, my dad, 1000%. My dad, when I think about who modeled to me what it meant to be a man, generally, as well as what it meant to be a man of God, what it meant to be a man of conviction, principle. I definitely got that from my dad. Just the way in which he, basically his story, he came from poverty, did poor to the point where they didn't know they were poor, to where he was basically able to get educated, do all that he did. He started our church in 2002, Hope Cathedral, and just the life that he's provided. I mean, he did everything necessary to take care of his family and to really, and not just take care of family in the sense of just in a moment, but really just reposition, our entire line. Anything that I accomplish, anything that I've accomplished, just pales in comparison. Just because, me, I always describe describe it as the foundation has been laid for me. Now it's up to me to now build, the rest of the stories. And it's still, again, right, that foundation is so important. So for sure, just to your question, my dad for sure modeled what it meant to be a man.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I think about that, even just my own father. I tell people all the time, like outside of Jesus Christ, he was, the greatest example of manhood, of a man to me. And I think that is just so key and pivotal for a young man, especially a young black man, to have that example of biblical manhood in your house. So what were some of the things that you feel that he instilled in you that you carry on today that has helped you continue to grow and thrive as a young man?
Ooh, man, so many things. Two things come to mind first, though, at the top. Number one is just a relentless work ethic. Like just a relentless, meaning like it does not matter how I feel. It does not matter what I have, don't have, get the job done. Like there's always a way, no matter, whether it's a compressed timeline, whether it's we're low on resource, like there is always a way to get the job done. And so really he just modeled and instilled in me just a relentless work ethic. And a lot of like what I accomplished in basketball, and even now what I accomplished in ministry and business, it started with just that relentless work ethic. But secondly, I don't want to use the word reckless, but just a crazy faith, like a crazy faith that if I work hard, maximize everything that God has given me, and I'm doing it all for the glory of God, I'm doing it based on what he told me, based on who he called me to be and everything, then losing is just not even an option. Like losing is not even possible. And so a lot of, what I'm able to do, how I'm able to move, I understand faith very well, and not faith in concept, faith in practice. I know what it's like to really walk by faith. And again, I might not say it in the most Christianese terms, but when God tells me something, when God, or when I say, hey, God, this is what I'd like to do. Is it okay? And I have that conversation and God gives me the okay. I don't need to consult with man anymore. This is getting done by faith. So really those are the two things. Like he really just modeled like just this just ruthless, this like, work ethic, as well as just, a conviction of faith. Like, hey, it does not matter what it looks like. If God said it, it's going to happen.
Right. Listen, God said it's going to happen, and I feel a lot of us, even as men, we have to learn that sometimes the hard way. Because like you said, because, we work hard, we do 1, 2, 3, 4, and we expect 5, or, we do things because we know that we've seen others work at it, and then we want this, but then at the same time, when it doesn't produce that, we're like, okay, God, are you really going to come through like you said you're going to come through? Because I'm not getting the outcome that I desire right now. And, sometimes those promises of God, they have to come to maturation. There's some things that God is working in you before we get to that point.
Yeah. But also too, if I can add on to that too, because like I want to be very specific. It's working hard, but it really is working smart. Really is more so working smart. Because you're right. A lot of men work hard for sure, but they end up busy. It's only when you understand how to work smart that you become productive. And so even in the Bible, it talks about how faith comes by hearing, right? We know that, but also faith, like working your faith, it's good works. Like that's the part that people don't usually acknowledge. Like we all just know, faith without works is dead. And where that phrase and that cliche becomes dangerous is because yes, faith without works is dead. That is true. But biblically, it talks about it there being good works. So that means like if there's good works, that means that there's bad works. If there's good works, that means that there's ineffective work. And so where a lot of men find themselves in that cycle of frustration, simply not because they don't have faith, it's just that they're just not doing the good work. And where a lot of men struggle is because we're used to going out and doing. And so sometimes the good work is doing nothing in situations. Sometimes the good work is stepping out of your comfort zone. So, but good is always relative to whatever God said. And that's why it's important that men actually slow down enough, make room enough for God in their lives so he can actually give you instruction. And once he gives you instruction, then you go do that. That's the good work. But what a lot of men do is we'll say, oh, I'm in faith for more money. I'm in faith for a better job. I'm in faith for, and we end up doing a lot of work that's in our own understanding. But if you're doing things that are in your own understanding, how is that faith?
My God, today. Jesus.
So yeah, so again, I know I said a lot, but I really want to make sure it's like this whole idea of working hard. Yes, work hard. You should have a work ethic, but you also have to be nimble in your thought process. You have to be critical. You have to be a critical thinker enough to say, okay, am I doing the right work? And not right work in terms of what culture says, not right work in terms of what my boss says. Like, am I doing what's right in the eyes of God with my work? If I do that, then yeah, you never lose. But that's also why a lot of times, a lot of people who are like winning and all that other type of stuff, it seems like they're not working as hard, is because they know what right work is. So it's like, if I only have to work 2 hours at something a week, and it gets me an exponential result because I'm trusting God and I know exactly what needs to happen, why it works, how it works, then yeah, I'm going to beat someone that's working 40 hours and they're still trying to figure out what and why and how. That's just how it goes. But that also, again, is grounded on, hey, I trust God to do the result. I'm going to just keep being in the right place at the right time according to what he told me to do. That's it.
No, that's good. You got, while you're talking, you hit so many nuggets right there. The first one I wanted us to kind of go to, you said, if men would slow down, if we would, as David said, be still
and know,
one of the things that even in my own personal life that I've even adopted even more this year has been to be still, learning how to be still, not be lazy, not procrastinate, but being still, slowing down my thoughts, slowing down my heart, my breathing, all those things to really be still. Because like you said, like we men be busy. We have adopted this hustle and grind culture. And nothing's wrong, like you said, with hustling and grinding. But I remember as you were talking, like I remember I was listening to a sermon by Dr. Darius Daniels, and he said, working hard and grinding hard only is successful if you're, as you said, working and grinding at the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
And so many of us do that. So like what I've had to do is really be still, because there's been times this year where I've needed to get some instruction, where I've needed to get to the point where I'm in the presence of God and sometimes not asking him for anything.
Yep.
Just knowing that he is here, we're sitting together and we're communing, we're fellowshipping. He's more speaking than I'm speaking, so that I can go out and be prepared for the work. A lot of times, I talk with people all the time and they're like, it feels weird to sit still and do nothing. It's like, I can't just, I feel like I'll be lazy if I do some rest. Well, listen, if God created the world in 6 days and on the 7th day he rested, what you think he did that for?
Man, that was like a big lesson for me right there. Like that, the whole idea of Sabbath, like it took me maybe 2 years to really get that right. Cause I love the Word of God. And I love it in a principle aspect, but also just the spiritual implication of it all. But it really took me a while to get the Sabbath practice in order. Cause, and again, I wasn't even as busy as I am today. But I was like, man, I got this to do. Like, I got to grind. I got this to do. Da, da, da. People calling on, people relying on me. Like, I got to grind. I got to get it. It's just my season. Da da da. You know. And I remember I had a mentor of mine kind of challenge me, and he was just like, yeah, but if you want God to do it, why don't you want to work like He commanded us to? And I'm like, and again, you know how it is. Even when we first, like, yeah, but like,
Right.
you
We
know, I
make
got
excuses.
a checklist. I got things to do. But, you know, and again, this is the Holistic Man podcast, so I can talk to men. Too many men practice insanity when it comes to their productivity.
My God.
Like at some point, I get it. You hustling, you grind it, but at some point, you got to just get honest with them and say, yo, this is not working. I've tried it my way. I've tried it my way 10 different ways. At some point, I've got to just say, what does God want me to do? and that was where I was like, man, like, yes, I am grinding. Yes, I am getting things done. I'm even winning in some areas. But also the amount of input that I'm putting into the work, I'm not seeing the proper output.
Right.
So something needs to change.
Yeah.
And so based on that alone, I said, all right, I'm not about to keep running myself ragged just to get some fractional results. Like, something's got to change. And that was when I said, you know what? I'm going to try this Sabbath thing. I'm so serious. I'm going to try this Sabbath thing. I'm going to make it Wednesday. Wednesday's going to be my Sabbath. I'm going to just Sabbath in the middle of the week. Wednesdays, I'm going to do nothing. And I did. And literally, bro, when I started doing that over the course of a month, 2 months, I saw God doing more with my 6 days of work than me grinding every day and every little waking hour, barely need to sleep. Like, it was like, oh my God, like the light bulb just kind of went off. But even like, and again, there was spiritual implications there that helped me a lot, because again, it wasn't like I did nothing and literally like, you know, I just kind of sat around and watched TV all day. No, it was I actually, like, I did nothing in the sense of I didn't have any meetings. I didn't do any work. Like, if anything, I strategized and took notes on my phone, but that's not work to me.
Right.
But I was able to pray longer. I was able to pray more, right? Like, I just had more opportunity to just kind of be. And so that helped me a lot spiritually. But then also on a productivity side of things, it helped me get a lot more clear as to, wait, what is actually working? And not even just, and this is something like I teach a lot of people, where it's like, I not only need to know what works, I need to know how it works. But then if I really want to go to the next level in my leadership, in my growth, I need to know why it works.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like a lot of employees, they know what works, they know how it works, but it's only owners, movers and shakers who actually understand, here's why it works.
Yeah.
Because when you understand why something works, now it becomes repeatable. But if you never know the why behind it working, you're always just going to be guessing. So yeah, man, that Sabbath piece is key.
Wow. Yeah, no, you said working for insanity and working to build that Sabbath in, you know, I think that's so, we got to rest. We have to rest, because if not, your body is going to force you to rest. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think about just just 2024. When I tell you that my weeks did not end, my weeks did not end. I'm just be honest with you. And then there came a point in time where my body was like, man, sit your tail down. And I had to, and it wasn't a good sit down. It was because I got sick. And, you know, I had nothing left, you know, and that's not the type of rest you want to get on a consistent basis, you know, and I try to give wisdom to people like, hey, bro, you can't do what I was doing, because that's crazy, you know, because you're going to burn out and then you're going to be doing nothing. And you might not even be here no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing. Yeah, I ain't going to be doing nothing. But at the same time, from a health standpoint, that's not good. So, you know, I had to really look, like you said, really slow down, get still, and figure out how am I going to do the work that God's called me to do, and become, not just do, and I see you said something so key, but be. Many men are doing and not becoming.
Yes.
You
My
know,
God.
you know,
My God.
and
Well,
I've
because they don't. I'm sorry, I want to jump in on this
no,
because you
you go
said
go
something I
ahead,
want to come
go ahead,
back.
go ahead.
You, and again, this is for kingdom. Like, you have to just operate by kingdom principles. So, like you said earlier, right? Men have to learn how to be still and know. But at the same time, that is in combination, that works in concert with the whole idea of seeking first the kingdom.
Yeah,
Because here's the thing, right? And again, I teach on this, but it's just, I want your viewers to get this. Like, that scripture, when it says, seek first the kingdom of God and all its righteousness and all these things shall be added unto you. Cool. What a lot of people miss is, yes, the scripture only says to seek first the kingdom. It doesn't say seek first the kingdom and stop seeking. So meaning that when I start my day, when I think about my intentions behind whatever decision I'm going to make, it starts with the kingdom.
yeah,
I'm seeking first the kingdom. I'm seeking first the kingdom with how I date. I'm seeking first the kingdom with how I love. I'm seeking first the kingdom with how I work out. I'm seeking first the kingdom with my work. All of it, right? I'm seeking. But once I've got that answered and I've heard from God, I've been in His presence, whatever it is, now I can be ambitious
yeah,
because I sought after the kingdom first. Okay, I've received what I need. I've gotten my daily bread. I've had time with God. All right, God, my heart and my mind is aligned with what you want for me. Cool. Now, Lord, I have some desires. And this is where also, don't let me go on a tangent, so stop me if you will need to. This is where in Psalms, I believe 37, when it talks about those that delight themselves in the Lord
yeah,
shall be given the desires of their heart.
absolutely.
And again, another scripture that's kind of twisted where it's like, no, if I know my heart's right with God, whatever desires I have after that point is in line with Him.
Yes,
But a lot of people get stuck at, okay, I love God, but like, am I wrong for wanting a lot of money? Yes, I love God, but like, is He really okay if I want to go build this thing? And it's like, no, if you know without a shadow of a doubt that God has your heart, any desire that comes out of that is in line with your calling.
yeah,
So men don't have to wrestle with the, is God okay with this and everything. It's like, no, if your heart is really God's, now that's key too. Not like the, I go to church sometimes and I read when like God really got your heart.
right.
Whatever desire comes after that, you clear for takeoff. But you get all of that. I'm expounding upon all that just because it is like there is a stillness necessary
Yeah,
in every man's daily life if you want to win on a kingdom level.
yeah.
And so I offer that up. That's
No,
all.
that's good. And even with that, I think I thought about the verse where it says, "Ask and it shall be given to you; seek and you shall find; knock and the door shall be open unto you." But if you look in the original language, that means keep on asking, keep on seeking, keep on knocking. It's a continuation. How many times
Yes,
do
sir.
I don't know, you ain't at this phase yet as a father, but your child is going to keep on asking you for stuff after you done said one answer. They gonna keep coming back, and then finally you could be like, "Oh my gosh, here, get it." There's, you're looking for your keys. You're not just gonna be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I look for my keys. I don't know where they are. I guess I'm just not going to work." You keep on seeking till you find it,
Yes.
and even if you're at the door at somebody's house, you don't just knock one time. How many people knock just one time? You knock
Oh my goodness. That's so good.
continually to get in. So it's a continuation. It's a continual action. So when you said seek first the kingdom and you keep on seeking, you have to keep seeking the kingdom, because guess what? There's another kingdom that will present itself if you don't continue to seek that kingdom.
Yeah, and you know what's so interesting, Dr. Jeff, is there are a lot of men who have dreams and desires that their patience and that their endurance can't cash in on. Like follow me for a second, because
Oh, I'm
everything
with
you
you.
said was so key.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So
Like
go ahead.
in the Bible, you look at every single promise, you look at every single individual,
Yeah.
there was a process. There was a becoming process with each and every individual that God used in a mighty way, right? So let's point out the easy like man examples, right? Moses, got it. Gideon, got it. Nehemiah, got it. Like plenty of examples for men to say, okay, like God uses men in a mighty way. Cool.
Yeah.
But there is a development there. And so it's like you have a lot of men who have been called, a lot of men who have faith, but they have not been developed in their patience. They haven't been developed in their endurance.
Yeah.
Like that's why when it talks about in and I know we just like throwing scriptures around all over the place, but that's why when it talks about Romans 5, when it says like, hey, consider it pure joy when trials of any nature hit you, paraphrasing a little bit, but it is for your patient endurance to be developed. It's for your character to be developed. It's so that way you actually have the guts and the grit to say, okay, I can stick to what God said, even when the situation doesn't seem like it's an agreement.
Yeah.
So it's like, for us, practically now, let's talk very practically. It's like, I have to do my part. I call it like the 80-20 rule just of faith, where it's like, hey, I have to do my 80% of what God wants to do to accomplish the thing. But that 20%, that's the thing only God can do. But I have my own 80% that I have to, like, am I the person, like, the language I use is, am I structured to handle what I'm praying for? Do I have the capacity?
The discipline.
To even handle, right? The discipline. Do I have that? Because if I don't have that,
No point.
then I'm praying, God's listening, ready to bless me, but because He's a loving Father,
Yes.
He's not going to bless you with something I can't handle.
Right.
So everything that you spoke on again is highlighted that thought. I'm like, man, that's so good, because you look at the entirety of the Bible. Whether you want to look at the Bible through a study lens or you want to look at the Bible through a what do I do in this situation type of lens, there is a patient endurance. There's a grit. There's a development process that we have to go through, that we have to be willing to go through.
Right.
And the more we avail ourselves to that process, the more fruitful we'll become. That's why it says in John, when he says, hey, I prune you so you can produce more.
Right.
That's a process.
Yeah. Listen, we don't listen, you had to bring up the pruning, because that what men and people don't even understand, pruning is painful.
Absolutely.
And so when we're going through that pruning process, we have to be prepared. We have to have a pain tolerance, because it's going to hurt, because He's stripping us of things that we thought we needed and we got familiar with, we got accustomed to. They became almost a crutch in a sense. And now when He prunes you, He's like, oh, I got to take this away. We're like, wait, but I got victories with that thing. That works. You don't need that. Oh, wait, you're taking this too? Wait, what am I going? Yep, you don't need that, and that's where it is. And then He's like, no, all you need is me. And He strips us and He prunes us to make our reliance to be fully on Him. Because if you look at, you mentioned Moses, that man, all he had was a staff. But he had a stick, a twig, a branch off the tree. Go give me that twig over there. You know what I'm saying? And he did miracle signs and wonders. That's all he had. But he had God. And if we as men look at that structure, look at David. When he, before he got the kingship, the kingdom, all he knew was he killed a lion, the tigers, and the bears. And he knew how to deal with messy sheep. And he knew how to throw a slingshot. But he knew that he had God on his side. And he defeated Goliath. So, but if you look at each and every mighty man in the Bible, all they had really was God. They had the word, they had their strength, but the Lord was their strength. And He went, and they were so surrendered and sacrificed to Him that nothing stopped them from accomplishing what God had purpose in their heart and purpose for them to do in the earth to accomplish.
That's so good. That's so good. Because even last note, or at least on pruning, right? Pruning, honestly, and I'm gonna say it like this: pruning exposes our idolatry.
Woo!
That's really all it is. Like, it exposes the things that we were relying on, that we claim God is first, but God's like, let me take it away from you just to make sure.
Right.
Let me take it away from you because you really are relying on this thing more than you think. It makes me think about just even my own process of pruning when, basketball was, for all intents and purposes, use the same language, an idol for me. I'm like, man, God, like you've given me gifts, you open doors, like I'm hooping, like this is what it's all about.
Right.
And he listen, he pruned it from me. Like I remember, and actually, I don't think I've ever actually even told this story, but when I was on like the tail end of my basketball career, I had gotten some opportunities to play in Mexico and everything like that. Like I've done it, praise the Lord. Like I've done everything there is to do in the game of basketball. But I remember like wrestling with God because he's like, all right, it's time to move on. And I'm like, no, I got more opportunities. Like I want to keep grinding. I want to keep, and again, for me, it wasn't even like blatant. It wasn't like God said, stop playing. I just had like this leading of like, this isn't as fulfilling as it once was.
Right.
And so for me, it's like in my own understanding, I'm like, man, I want to keep playing. I want to keep pursuing. I want to see if, more opportunities, this and third. Now, mind you, at the same time, I'm talking to my now wife. We were dating seriously at that time. I'm building, my leadership training company and everything like that. So like I'm like doing life, but I'm also like holding on to basketball. So I'm like holding on these two things that I care about. And I just remember, man, I was playing pickup, and I remember I'd like jumped or something, and like I felt like my hip like pop. Now, keep in mind, I have very great durability. Like I do not deal with injuries like at all. But I remember like this particular hip pop, this thing hurt something serious. Now, thankfully, it wasn't serious to the point where I had to like, go to the hospital or nothing like that. But it was just like, whoa, like that wasn't normal. Something's wrong. And, at that time I'm praying, right? So I have a prayer life at that point, and I'm talking to God. I'm like, God, I need you to heal me. Like I need to feel better, da 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 da. And guess where he brings me to in the Bible? Jacob.
I was about to say, about to walk with
And
him
I
up, bro.
I said, God, what you say? This ain't. That's where I was like, hold on, God. I want to go to the negotiation table with God. I like, hold on, Lord. Like, now wait a minute. I know you may be leading me on to something, but I want another opportunity. I want to go. But like, man, like it was just like that moment of pruning, of like, man, like, listen, I enjoyed everything there was, in playing overseas basketball. I enjoyed it, but I also knew it didn't fit who I was and who God was creating me to be. But I was still holding on because I'm like, God, I've been doing this for 20 some years. Like, what? No, I haven't even reached my prime yet. Like, wait. But again, it was pruning. It was all pruning, and eventually, I started really zooming out even more on the situation. I'm like, oh man, like as much as I do love basketball, still to this day, it still doesn't serve the greatest purpose, which is what God has called me to do with my life. And so, because of that, it's like, well, I either can allow this pruning to happen and bear more fruit, or I can keep trying to play with a limp. Like, you know what I mean? It's like at some point to the insanity piece, it's like, yo, I have to be equipped to make the hard decision.
Yeah.
And I think even that's valuable for men. It's like, yo, you have to be able to develop yourself to where when it comes to making God decisions, you are comfortable, no matter how painful it may be, to still make the right hard decision.
Right. No, that's key right there. Wow. He said, either go through the pruning process or walk with it or keep playing with his lip. And listen, man, when God gives you that lip, it ain't gonna heal. That don't heal because he's trying to push you somewhere else, and you keep going over there, and you're gonna be in more pain and maybe further along, broken down, if you don't just be like, okay, God, I got you. You don't want me to go over there. I'm gonna leave that alone, and I'm gonna go ahead and just do this. Because we come to a point. Because as he's, he desires men to lead in such a way and bring his word and his glory to the earth in structures and strategies and processing and building things in families. We have to get to a point where, like you said, it's a God decision, but not even just a God decision, but that's the only decision is the God decision.
Yes.
Because so many times we want options. We play with options. We like to play with our food. He's trying to give us meat and we want the sweet thing. He's trying to give us meat and we still want the milk. It has to come down. You have to draw the line in the sand and say, I only want not the good decision, not my decision, but the God decision. And that's truly the only decision I have. Because if I go anywhere else, I'm outside the will and alignment with him and how he's leading and how he's moving me to not just do his work, to be a bearer and a steward of who he is, of his presence.
That's so good.
And we as men have to realize that we are men that he wants to dwell with us, and he wants us to go out into the world and turn it upside down. He didn't just, he didn't just come for 3 years just for willy-nilly, just to have a good time, drop some powers, drop some gifts, do some stuff. No, he came to advance his kingdom because another kingdom was advancing and had been, implemented. And he was like, no, this is how my kingdom works, and my kingdom will be forever. So we got to be about it, and like you said, he gives us free will. Like we have free will. We have that. That's never going to go away. But then at the same time, when we allow that free will to go too far along with his alignment, it's not that he stops us. He's just not in it.
Yep. And it shows. It shows when he's not in it, it shows.
It's a whole lot harder. You get knocked in the head. Hey, wait, what's going on? Rocks is getting thrown at me. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, why is everything crashing? Why is everything I built with glue and popsicle sticks?
Yeah, man. Yeah. A lot of men, unfortunately, are dealing with alignment issues. Where it's like, and this is the thing, right? It's such a nuanced thing where it's like you could be building the right thing,
right,
but the intention is off.
Yeah.
Like your heart posture while you're physically doing the same thing. Like, because again, an alignment again is on the heart level. It's on the character level.
Yeah.
Where as men, we have to be honest with ourselves concerning like why we are doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And particularly those of us who are believers, and whether you're, novice or you're experienced, whatever, we try to act as though we try to put on a mask as if, we're doing things for the glory of God when we're really doing them for our own self-interest. You see what I mean? And it's like, you have to have that honest conversation with yourself surrounding like, no, why am I doing what I'm doing? Right. Because and you said something earlier that I want to kind of comment on, right? God wants men to lead. God wants men to build. God wants men to be great. And so what that means is that every man has the capacity to do it. Because I'm certain there's some men listening to this right now, and they've seen nothing work for a long time. They feel overlooked. They feel used. They feel like a failure. They feel insignificant. But it's so important, and this helped me a lot. Like recognizing, no, God has given me the capacity to do something significant. Like capacity is just another word for potential.
Yeah.
I have the potential to do something significant in the kingdom of God. And whether or not I live out that purpose, whether or not I see the fruition of that, is literally based on my surrender. It's based on my obedience, and it's based on my faithfulness.
Yeah. Like
those three for men, if men get that in order, oh my God, unstoppable.
Yep. Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
They're truly able to do exceedingly abundantly more than they could ask or think, because they're in the hands of who made them. Man, that's so good. So as we're talking about that obedience, that surrender, can you share just how did you come to that point in your relationship with God? How did you come to Christ to the point where your obedience, your surrender, and then talk a little bit, because you're a PK. And PKs, and I'm a PK, you're a PK. We have an interesting, dynamic or expectation that other people
Yeah.
don't have. So talk about, as once you came to Christ, what did that look like? How did you come to Christ? How did you cultivate that relationship? And then at the same time, being a PK, what impact did that have on your relationship with God?
So I've always known God.
Okay.
He just didn't always have me.
I like that. I like that.
All
Yo,
my life I've known him.
I love that.
Quite have me. So
I love that.
so my walk with God, especially even growing up, teenage years, and even a little bit, probably like I started, in all seriousness, I started taking my relationship with God serious. I would say my second year at UVA.
Okay.
Like that was when I was like really like, okay, I want to have my own relationship with God. Because previous to all that, my thought process literally was, my parents are good with God, let the oil flow, so I should be good too. Like I can do whatever I'm doing as long as my parents are good with God, I'm good with God. Great. That was literally how I thought. But really for me, and God used basketball to bring me closer to Him. That was like my first faith test, faith fight, whatever, where I really won and saw victory and everything like that. That's around the time when we met. And so you were seeing me walk out my faith in real time. And then really during those years in college, I was like, okay, I'm a Christian, but I'm figuring out what that actually looks like walked out on a day-to-day. So I had done and again, I got saved when I was like 8. Right. But in terms of like really taking that salvation serious was, around second year in college. But now I was having to figure out, okay, what is the sanctification process now? And at that time, I was in such a bubble with basketball and in college where, okay, I go to church, I pray, I was leading Bible study, check. I can still go out, I can still party, I can still do whatever I want to do, I can still drink, that was kind of like, hey, like, it was very, even now as I'm reflecting on it, it was very performative. It was very performative in the sense of like, hey, I can tell someone about the Bible just because I know about God. Like I can, I knew more. I was always like one step ahead of the people I was around in their walk. So I was able to lead a Bible study. I was able to tell someone like, oh, this is what it means when God says that He loves you no matter what. Like this, I was able to do that, but it was all head knowledge. It wasn't so much like experienced.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, my fourth year in college, basically, what ended up happening was my dad ended up going to jail for something that he did not do. And that entire experience just like rocked me, just rocked me to my core, emotionally, mentally. It shifted everything because on paper I was winning.
Yeah.
On paper, I was a scholarship athlete at UVA. I came from not being on the team at all my first year. Living in my own apartment, car. I was good on paper. But on the inside, because of everything that was going on in my family, man, I was a mess. And so basically, through that experience, I ended up making just some of the worst decisions of my life, man. Some of the worst decisions of my life, like just terrible decisions that did not reflect the man that I thought I was going to be at the time, the man I wanted to be at the time, just a complete breakdown of morals. And so fast forward, I ended up going to another school for my 5th year. Again, just more so coping, not even so much trying to get close to God, just trying to do everything that would just kind of take my mind off of the pain I was experiencing internally and emotionally. And, I reached a point where I just like knew I was broken. Like I was literally a broken man.
Wow.
And in this stage in life, I'm 22 at the time, I want to say. Yeah, 22, 23. Living in my mama's basement, living in my parents' basement, came home, still pursuing basketball, but home to help support my mom who's running the church and holding down the household and, making a little bit of money, but not even any, like, couldn't even give my mom money for groceries just to try to help out. Like, all I could do was my presence. So, bro, I was broken. Like, I was depressed, the whole nine. And, I honestly, and again, I can be transparent because this is the space for it. Like, I totally lost my will to live. Like, totally. Like, just completely lost my will to live. Like, literally, I was never going to go as far to self-harm or anything like that, only because I knew that my presence was valuable to other people, to my mom, to my, like, but me, I was like, yo, I'm just a shell. I just became a shell of myself. And so, because of this brokenness I was experiencing on the inside, because of just the confusion, the anger, the questions, the whole nine, I was just in a low place, man. And I remember during that time, COVID hits.
Ooh.
So we're talking March 2020.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm just like reeling. I'm just like, God, what in the world's going on? And I remember, I've never told this story publicly. That's so interesting. I remember listening to a TD Jakes sermon. Now, mind you, I didn't know who bro was really before. Like, I didn't really know who he was. Like, I knew he was a big name, and I've been in, like, my family's been in ministry. So, like, I know the name TD Jakes. I've just never actually, like, listened to him.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic time, we're all locked in. I'm kind of like looking for stuff to watch. So I'm like trying to grow closer to God, but I'm dealing with that, how do I forgive myself type of thing. I'm broken, but I'm trying to get closer to God, hitting that wall, that ceiling. And I remember, man, it might've been like the second or third sermon I heard from him. And, the first two, it was very like, okay, encouraging, like, yes, it's encouraging. But I remember this one sermon, bro, I'll never forget it. The title of the sermon was "He Still Wants You." And I remember, bro, he started out this sermon. He was like, this is not no shouting message. This is not any of that. Like, this is not for hype. This is not for excitement. So if that's what you came for, it won't be for today. And man, he just like went through just how God still wants me, even though I'm broken. God still wants me, even though I'm dealing with shame and embarrassment and guilt and all that. Bro, I just remember just something just like breaking on the inside of me. And again, not when I say breaking, not like in a negative way.
Right.
Maybe I should use the word shifting. Like I felt something just shift on the inside of me. And it was like in that moment, I remember like I was sitting in my chair just like listening, and to like, bro, I don't even know, just ran. I remember being at the end of the sermon, just literally on my knees, just crying, hands raised in a basement by myself. Like, to be clear, no one, like, this is a me and God thing. And I remember, bro, just I was healed from that. Like just all that. Now again, when I say healed, I'm not saying like everything was perfect, everything was great, but it was like that was the genesis of me rebuilding. Cause like I the way I thought about it in my head at that point in time was like I had made so many just poor decisions that I was like, yo, I cannot believe I was living like that. To where I had this image of myself, right? So like picture like a mirror image of you, and like the whole mirror is just shattered. So I'm like going through life every single day thinking like, man, like the man I thought I was going to be is just like lying in this pile of just like broken glass, broken shards, just like that's all I saw. And then after that message, it was just like this, you know what? Sweep it away. I have a frame in front of me, and now it's going to be me and God to rebuild this thing. Oh my God, bro, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. And it was in that moment I made the decision, bro, that I still live by to this day. It changed my life because I had been through so much at that point. I wasn't even 25 yet. Wow. And I remember leading up to my 25th birthday. And I remember thinking to myself, yo, for everything I've experienced from birth to 25, I'm like, Jesus, like I'd been through more than like most 25-year-olds.
Right.
And so I'm thinking to myself, yo, everything that I'd like to have happen, I want to have happen in these next 25. So I'm thinking, okay, all this craziness happened from birth to 25. There are some things like everything that I'm praying for and faith for, success and all that other type of stuff, getting married, kids, all that, like that's supposed to happen between this 25 to 50 mark. So to the point where we were talking about earlier, like, yo, something's got to change. Like I got to make a change. And so I remember, bro, me and God, I made this covenant with God. Covenant. Yeah, I use that word intentionally. I said, God, no matter what, I'm going to trust you. Because again, bro, like I'm smart. I've learned some things. I've studied, business. I've studied strategy, leadership, all that. Like I'm intelligent. So I'm not saying that like I know my stuff. But when it comes to trusting God, brother, I could like it's few people that understand the level of trust that I have in God.
Mm.
Few. And I'm not saying that as if I'm certainly no special individual, because God's no respecter of persons.
Right.
But when I know that I've heard from God on something, brother, I don't care how impossible it looks. I gave God, because I know the brokenness He healed me from. I know the restoration that He made possible. And so, bruh, listen, I told God I will trust you no matter what. And so I remember literally, bro, I took myself out to dinner on my 25th birthday.
He said, I took myself.
I was not playing. I was not playing. I said, yo, I'm taking myself out to dinner. I ain't want to do no party. I ain't doing no posting. This is me and God. Because again, to me, it's like, I've always been a very driven, ambitious, disciplined person.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the idea of sacrificing for something better after was very like normal to me. Like that was very like, okay, we're not going to do that now so we can have better later. No problem. Easy. But like, so I had never necessarily done it on that scale before, where it's like, no, this is my life, you know, because I still want to get married young. I still wanted to have kids. I like the life that I'm living now is what I was in faith for back then.
My God.
And so, you know, I took myself out. I remember at that point I was making decent money. And again, nothing near what I'm making now, but like making good enough money where I said, all right, I'm going to take myself out to a nice restaurant, nice steakhouse. I'm getting the tomahawk. I'm getting my glass of wine. I'm getting the lobster tail. And I pull out a note in my phone. Wow. I said, 25 years old. I put 3 sections. I put lessons, strengths, and weaknesses. Man, I got so real with myself. So real with myself. All right, lessons. I've learned that it's not, you don't have to be understood.
Mm.
That was just one of them. And again, I had a list maybe like 5 to 7 for each section.
Yeah. Strengths.
You're very confident. Or what was it? It wasn't even so much you're very confident. It was you execute well, or something like that. Something like that. And I remember for weaknesses, I put it was something along the lines of like needing validation. It was something in that realm or something like that. But I remember, bro, like I had a whole list in each section. Like, yo, this is in my 25 years of living. Here's the lessons I learned. Here's the strengths I have. And here's the weaknesses I have. And I remember taking that list, bro, and literally just focusing, okay, how do I move these weaknesses? What do I need to do to strengthen them? Strengths, how do I sustain them? Lessons, all right, let's keep them. Like that. So that was my whole process of like really allowing God to just like take control.
Wow.
And so now what's so interesting, bro, like I'm walking in a season and I know like I still consider myself still in a season of hiddenness. Like I still consider myself very anonymous. Like a lot of the things that I'm walking in, forget the things I'm walking in, the things that I've been able to help other people navigate. Literally, bro, I lie to you. Literally, I've been exactly where they are. And that's significant because I remember when I was going through the stuff, it was just like, God, why I got to deal with this? What? This is unfair. God, why? Like, kind of just like, yo, this has no, what? But like when I'm having conversations with people, whether it's through training, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through pastoring, and they're telling me, man, it's like, it's annoying because I feel like the black sheep of my family, but they're always asking me to do something. They're relying on me. I've been there. Man, I feel like, God's called me to more, but there's things I just can't shake. I just feel like I can't forgive myself. Been there. Man, I feel like my life, I should be doing more with my life, but it just seems like I'm working really hard, but nothing seems to be working. Been there. And not just like and again, this is specific for men. It's not like I can just empathize. No, I can give you action steps. Like, no, here's what you do.
Yeah.
And so it's like, bro, the way God has like orchestrated my entire story, and Lord knows it's far from finished, but the way in which even now I've seen how God has kind of weaved all of it together, how he truly, Romans 8:28, how he worked all things together. Oh my God, bro. Like, so yeah, I know it's probably like your question had to do with, my pruning process and everything like that.
That's pruning.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
prudent. That's what it was.
Yeah, bro. So I live my life at a place, man, where I am unapologetic and I am ruthless about my trust in God.
Mm. No, wow.
Yeah.
No, that was powerful, man. And thank you for sharing that, because as you were ending there, you know, God takes us. Our story is not necessarily for us; it's for others, and I think we miss that sometimes. And so he took you through that so you could give someone else the blueprint to get through what they're going through. He in a sense, he gives us a sense of mastery through the suffering, through the
Yes.
difficulties, through the trials, through the tribulations, through the pain. And we know that there is, I love Peter. He said, there's an after this. He will restore, he will raise up. So until you get to that after this, you're going to have to deal with that. But then when you get to that point where after this, you can then look back because somebody else is coming down that same pathway. But now you have restoration, you have strength, you have clear vision, you have healing. You have, you've been, I like the part that you say broke off, because there are some things that God has to break off, because he said, is my word not like a hammer? So he breaks things off of us as we're going through life. And he, and he breaks them into a million billion pieces so we can never recognize them ever again, But then you still remember what it was like to be there, not from a remembrance of, I still remember the pain, but I remember being in that spot. You don't feel it no more, but you can see yourself and you know what you did to get out of it. And I think that's so key, because I feel like so many men are stuck in a place and they don't know how to get out of. Like you said, like you said, all those examples you gave that you help other people get out of. I feel like men in ourselves, because like, I'm a great husband. I go to work, I pay the bills, I pray, I take my family to church, I wash the car, I get the car fixed. All these things, and it just seems like a revolving cycle of nothingness. And they don't think that it amounts to anything, and they don't see the outcome. They don't see that what they have been dreaming can come to pass.
Yes. Because even too, bro, like a lot of men are stuck because they have not given themselves the space. We talked about that, right? But they haven't been equipped with the tools, or they have not sought out the tools to properly process where they're at emotionally,
Right.
to properly process the reality of the negative decisions that they made, to properly process the damage that was done by their own hand, or whatever it is, right? So it's like they're living in this I'll call it a warped world, where they're seeing like a whole lot of like quarter truths.
Yeah.
So they'll say something like, they'll language it like, oh, well, I shouldn't have done that, versus I shouldn't have done that because I was feeling empty. I shouldn't have done that because I was feeling, lonely. Like they have to be given the tools to actually process, like, this is what really happened.
Yeah.
This is like the reality of it. And I have to have the courage to admit to myself, like, I shouldn't have went over there, but I only went over there because, I wanted to feel valued. And now I done lost everything because I wanted to feel valued. So clearly there's a void in my self-confidence. Like, it's like there has to be a willingness to say, I need to equip myself with the tools to process what's really going on, man. And like, again, I know that process well. Like, I've cried a lot of tears over that process of really like reliving the situations and stuff like that. And that is where, not to go too off on a tangent, like one day I plan on doing like some sort of series to talk about how we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony.
Yeah.
Because your testimony should be a testimony. It should not be you reliving the situation. And so it's like you should have overcome.
Yeah.
If you're still working through it, respect. But before you go sharing with people what you still working through, like overcome. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? It's like you shouldn't still be telling the story where literally like the tears are like we're seeing processing tears. We're not seeing healed tears. We're not seeing grateful tears. We're literally seeing, oh, you just shared something that you just discovered in this moment as you share your testimony. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because again, don't let me go too. Let me stop. But yeah, like just fully get healed before you start sharing your testimony.
Right.
So like, you know, and again, using myself as an example, bro, when I got emotional earlier, it was literally from a place of gratitude of like, yo, like God really did that.
Yeah, God's good.
It wasn't like I was crying like, oh my God, I really did do that. Like,
Right.
Lord. No, there's a tone because again, now you deal with just how you are able to witness to people.
Mm.
So it's like if I'm sharing my testimony like I've overcome, even though I really haven't, I'm lying.
My God.
As opposed to just saying, you know, God's still working on me in this.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Now again, I don't want to go too far down that exit, but just in general,
Right. No, that's good.
we have to equip ourselves with the tools to properly process emotion.
Yeah, no, that's good. He said, if you still working through it and telling people you overcome, you lied. That's so true. Like, and many people haven't overcome, and they're lying, and that's a fact, and that's the sad reality. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and
But it's better to be honest. Better to just be straight up honest.
tell the truth.
Like people like, hey, when you identify a problem, you can solve a problem.
Yeah.
But if you acting like it ain't a problem, the problem's gonna stay.
You the problem did.
Yeah. So you know, same thing. Just gotta be honest.
Yeah. No, I think that's so good that you said, you know, we have to be able to process our emotions and be able to deal with, you know, that space. And I feel like many men don't have those tools, like you said, to process emotionally. So I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions and then I'm gonna let you go because I know you a family man. You got, you know, you got responsibilities and things of that nature. Just when it comes to your own emotional health, could you just give maybe some practical steps of how you process your emotions as a man so they don't become a crutch?
So for me, what has been really helpful is I'm very clear on my triggers. And when I say triggers, I don't mean that only in the negative sense. I'm clear on that in terms of the positive ones too. Like I know what to do so I feel happy. I know what to do when I just need a laugh. I know what to do when I'm angry. Like I know what makes me angry. I know what really sends me up a wall. And so, number one, it's like becoming like honest and aware of like my triggers, right? Both positive and negative. But secondly, it's equipping myself with the ability to communicate those triggers. Now, again, I don't need to communicate every trigger to everyone. But, for example, I communicate all my triggers to my wife. All of them. Hey, if you can say these words, but if you use this tone, it'll be a problem. You see, like I can be, but I've thought it through in terms of how I need to communicate.
Yeah.
So that way she doesn't step on a landmine with me.
Right.
And now it's a problem. So I focus on, okay, how do I communicate these triggers? But then also, lastly, and again, I'm very like teacher, I can walk you through it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm also understanding sometimes I'm gonna still be triggered and I gotta be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, so like, part of the emotional health conversation that I don't want to get in trouble on your podcast. I don't want to get you in trouble on your podcast. I think one of the things that needs to be talked about more in this emotional health conversation is just the topic of maturity.
Yes, 100%.
Because
deal with it.
Yes, yeah. Like some of this stuff is like, if you were more mature, the results will be different. So for me, in terms of how it makes sense to me, it's like, hey, I can be very clear on my triggers. I can be very clear on how to communicate those triggers, but there's still going to be some situations and people that may fall through the cracks and trigger me.
Yeah.
Do I still have the maturity to understand if that happens? More than likely, they're not my enemy. It more than likely, most of the time, is an accident or misunderstanding, or they just didn't know. Most of the time. So I have to handle it like that. I can't look at that as, oh, see, there's my opportunity to blow up, and I go off. And I feel justified because it's like, well, that was my trigger. They hit my trigger. And it's like, they just met you 10 minutes ago. Now you done messed up the whole deal. Now you see what I'm saying? Like, so some of that is like, hey, recognizing and just settling in my heart, hey, sometimes I'm going to be triggered and I need to know how to respond.
Right.
And so that's where practically you get into, okay, hey, I know how to just withdraw myself. I know key phrases to use when I am triggered, when I am angry, when I'm sad, whatever it is, to remove myself from the situation or context. So, for example, if my wife steps on a grenade metaphor for she triggers me in anger, triggers me in sadness or whatever, like my response is never, I need to go off on her for that. My phrase usually is, I'm gonna need to take a minute. Or I'm gonna say, that right there I didn't like. But because of communication, I can say, hey, let me take a pause. I ain't like that. That specific thing right there. What you just said just set me off. This is where my mind went. I'm trying not to go there, but I'm letting you know. Like, but you see how it's like it's not a emotionally charged conversation.
Right.
So yeah, not to be too long-winded, but that to me, with my emotional health and everything like that helps a lot, where I'm very clear on what triggers me. I'm very clear on how to communicate those triggers, but I've also accepted the truth that it's life and it's still gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I have an idea of how to respond with maturity when I'm triggered.
Wow. No, that's good. Maturity. Grow up. You know,
Yeah.
when I was a child, I spoke like a child. When I became a man, I put away with childish things. You know, I wanna do a teaching one day of childlike versus childish, and you can take that one, Pastor. That's free. You can have that one.
Can preach right there, Doc.
That
can preach right there, Doc.
Yeah, you know. So because there's a difference in that, but no, that's good, man. No, that was good and practical and down to earth. Like ultimately maturing in your emotions, in your mental capacity, in your heart, to the point where you're able to communicate effectively to everyone. And like you said, I like the part where you said, I know my negative triggers and my positive triggers. I was like, you know what? I need to look more at them positive triggers, because a lot of times when you hear about triggers, it's always negative, you know, but then there are positive triggers. And so I was like, that's a nugget for me, because I was like, I need some more positive, you know, triggers to kind of dive in.
So one of the big things I train a lot of, like I do a lot in like my leadership trainings and stuff like that, is I always use the phrase complete the thought. Like, okay, it might not work. Okay, there's doubt. Okay, but just complete the thought. What if it works?
Yeah.
Flip it on its head. Okay, there's negative triggers. Cool, long list. Let's just explore the positive ones.
Right.
Like, let's just complete the thought.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it's just a way for individuals to kind of reframe, you know, their situation. Because again, what happens if you only list out the negative? That's all you see. And if all you see is negative, that's what you're going to focus on. And if what you focus on is negative, that's what you're going to produce.
Yeah. No, that's good. Okay. Listen, y'all find the positive triggers. Find them and deal on that, because men, we tend to deal in the negative. People tend to deal in the negative, but men specifically, because of the society and the culture that we're in, is always something negative about men, or, you know, even their own self-thoughts about themselves. So think on the positive, men. You got it. Then I'm going to ask you two more questions, and then I got you. Then I'm going to get you out of here.
Yes, sir.
What are you currently working on and building?
Oh, that's a big question, man. That's a big question. So number one, I'm working on, I'm coming on my second book next year. And the title of the book, I'll tell your audience, is called The 7 Laws of Self-Leadership, and centered around how to become the leader that your calling requires. There are 7 things that I believe would help any individual, especially every man, lead themselves well to qualify, to develop, to grow into a better leader. 7. So I'm working on that book. That's one. Second thing that I'm building right now We have a leadership conference every year in December, where it is not just a traditional leadership conference where you hear people speak and you take notes and you go home not knowing what to do. It is more of an experience where if you as an individual want to grow, if you as an individual want to say, hey, I want to make a difference with my life, I want to see a difference in my life, I want to put a game plan together. And it's the space for it. So where you do hear from some proven leaders, but you also do the real work of putting together a strategy. Another thing that I'm building, I'm actually in the process of doing a complete restructuring of my leadership training company, Craft Your Dream, which is a big undertaking, but I'm very excited about it. We're putting together an app. We're re-looking at all the offers. There's going to be some certifications in there, and programs. It's a lot, and that's only in my professional business space of what I'm building.
Right.
But yeah, man, through and through, I'm a builder. So when you ask that question, I'm like, "Ooh, Jesus, we might need a whole nother podcast for that one."
Listen, we're gonna have to have a part 2.
Yeah, man. But I'll say this last thing because I want to share it with your audience. I've experienced enough, I've done enough to where I'm finding and I've found a lot more value in being a king maker than a king myself.
My God, that Lord have mercy, Jesus.
Like, yeah, I
The Samuels.
like, yeah, man. I've, and again, I say this not in like a braggadocious way or anything like that. It's just like, I know how things work. I know how to build things, and there's a lot more fulfillment in it for me than me working with someone in any type of space where I help them build what they're called to build, and they exponentially just like take leaps and bounds. And it's like, that makes me feel really good. So in this current, I don't want to say current season in my life, but just kind of where I'm mentally at right now.
Yeah.
I want to position myself as a king maker. Like I want it to be where, every single partner at our church, if you come to our church, like you become who God's called you to be. Right. And I don't mean that as if like our church is self-help, because it's not. It's
Right.
just like it's spiritually development where it's, hey, you take leaps and bounds because you come to this church and I'm operating under what God has given me.
100%. Yeah.
And then even in marketplace where it's, hey, if you spend $1 with me, every dollar you spend is $1,000 worth of value you get back. Like that's just kind of mentally where I'm at in terms of how I'm building. Because when I first started, it was very much, like, how can I want to build, I want to help people. Of course, like I'm service, like I want to serve, but it's like, no, like I want to be a king. I want to be a king. I want to be. But now I've seen enough success. I've helped enough people get success to where I'm like, being a king maker is a lot better. So yeah, I want to share that with your audience just as a like.
No, that's good.
What true success is. It's like I want to be a king maker.
Yeah. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly in that, and I love how you phrased that. Instead of being a king, be a king maker. Listen, you need to make that. You need to make that a T-shirt or something. Put that out there. That's dope. Last question: what does the term "the holistic man" mean to you?
Ooh, that's good. I would say to me, a holistic man is one who is kingdom driven. A holistic man is one who is kingdom minded. And the holistic man is one who handles his business. Like, yeah, and I'll say it like that because I want to say it like that only because in a lot of Christian spaces, our answers can sound real woo-woo and Christianese. But when I think about like what the holistic man is and means, it's like he's kingdom minded, kingdom driven, meaning like, okay, I focus on the things of God. I value the things of God. I think on the things of God. Kingdom driven, meaning like I work according to the kingdom. I work my faith according to what the Bible says. I operate based on kingdom principles. But I'm a man that just gets things done. So whether you know Jesus, don't know Jesus, searching, not looking, whatever, you will describe me as a man that gets stuff done.
Yeah.
And I have fruit to prove it. So that to me is what a holistic man means.
Awesome. That was powerful, man. Pastor Trevon, thank you so much for your pour today, your wisdom and your nuggets, man. Listen, I'm going to go back and I got to write some of this stuff down because this was good stuff, man. So just thank you for the opportunity just to sit with you and hear a little bit about your life, your testimony, and then even what you're building, So thank you so much.
Yeah. Man, thank you. I have to say, when you introed me earlier and you said that you saw, the way I carried myself and everything like that, I'm telling you, I was the last to know. So I just thank you because you saw what I am now early. And so I'm telling you, like, I would not be here if not for your influence, for your encouragement, and just through our connection. So, man, I'm so grateful to be here on this podcast. I'm grateful and thankful to just see all that you're doing. And listen, I am on your side, in your corner, rooting you on.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Listen, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to send you on back, and then I'm going to talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, there y'all have it. Pastor Trevón Gross. Listen, y'all, he dropped some nuggets. He dropped some wisdom. Man, that man was preaching. And he is a builder's builder. I love what he said. He said, instead of being a king, he wanted to be a king maker. So listen, if you want to connect with him, with his business, he has a book. I'm going to put that link in the description below. I'm going to put his business down in the link below and put his socials. I'm going to put the link to his conference that he has coming up in December so that you can connect with him and help and maybe even reach out to him so that he can help you craft your dream, craft that idea, craft that kingdom dream and vision that God has put on the inside of you so that you can live out the fullest to what he has ordained you to be. So just thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this movement. This is the Holistic Man, Ordinary Men, Extraordinary Gifts. And until the next time, stay holistic. God bless.
With a gentle hand, God make me a holistic man.